The government would have us believe that there are 43,000 illegal migrants who crossed the Channel last year. Well, that's a number. They may not indeed be correct. They may not all be illegal. They may not all have crossed the Channel. We don't really know because the Home Office hasn't been doing its work. It's collecting statistics, and this sort of gives the lie to the whole thing. Behind those statistics are human lives and human misery and desperation, and I think we need to personalize these lives. Only then can we start to deal with it. We need to process these applications. We need to reject those people who don't meet the correct criteria for refugee status. And some of these people are here to simply improve their lives, as indeed the British did, going off to the Americas, going down into Asia, going to India, going to South Africa. We should understand the idea that people want to improve their lives, and we should allow some opportunity. If we want to control it, that's called controlling our borders. And there are various ways in which we can control it. But we can't control it if the Home Office is dealing with a backlog that it cannot detail, a backlog that is so great it's reduced simply to a number and a statistic. And reducing people to numbers, this is actually, of course, exactly what was done in the concentration camp experiment during the Second World War, reducing people to numbers, dehumanizing people. And we must make an effort, if we're not going to fall into some sort of trap, to humanize the victims of trafficking, the victims of smuggling, the victims of simple ambition and desperation. And only that way can we start to solve the problem. Then we should be solving the problem by talking to our neighbours, by talking to France, and by doing deals with our neighbours. I think by posting, by having offices on French territory, for example, so that we can begin the process of filling out proper applications. I think we have to simplify that application process. Certainly the application processes for Windrush compensation are so complex, and it's maddening that we think that this is some sort of fair and equitable way to treat people who have been themselves abused by us. So if this is how we deal with people to whom we definitely owe an apology, it's not that surprising that we would deal with people who are coming to us hoping for support, and we have no we have no prior relationship with them. So we need to improve our bureaucracy. We need to improve the way we do things. We need to improve these forms, and we need to process people more quickly with the help of our neighbours. And we need to get rid of some of these slogans. This idea about passing through a safe country, this is nonsense. This is the language of Schengen. It's the language of the Dublin Protocol. It's all over. It's all over. And we have no right to talk about that. Of course, France is a safe country. But we have no right to force people to stay in France. France is another country. And we have to do deals with another country. To discourage people from coming to our country, well, yeah. Then we have to encourage people to stay in France. We have to want people to think France is better. But ideally, they stay in their own country if they can. Or they stay in immediately neighbouring, in the countries which are immediately adjacent to theirs. This huge trek to our country, why is that? Partly because of English, partly because of the lure of opportunity that is accompanied by the name Britain. Well, that's our fault. And actually, We need migration. We need people who can make Britain great again, because we're not doing a very good job of it ourselves. As for the migration crisis, which is going on around the globe, we need to address that, and we should lead that discussion. We should call an international conference and try to set out a framework for the 21st century, just as the 1951 Refugee Convention set out a framework for the latter part of the 20th century. A new framework for a new century. It only makes sense. So there's a lot to do, and a thoughtful and an imaginative Home Secretary could lead the way. I don't think that's Suella Braverman somehow.